If you've been looking for a video to make green chicken tamales, this is the video for you. I simplify it, I break it down step by step, so you leave with an understanding and confidence to make them for your friends and family. First things first, we're gonna boil 4 pounds of chicken thighs in a 12-quart pot. This recipe is gonna make right at about 4 dozen tamales, depending on how much filling you put in each one. Add in 1 whole onion, 2 tablespoons of garlic, and about a tablespoon of salt. Cover and boil on medium heat for an hour. You will have to initially clean the husks with water and remove any fibers or debris that is commonly present. You might have to even do this 2 or 3 times before soaking. You want to make sure that the corn husks are separated and submerged in water for at least a few hours. 24 hours is recommended. The key to making great tasting green chicken tamales is the sauce. I'm making a green tomatillo sauce. I'm using 3.5 pounds of tomatillos. Boil the tomatillos for about 15 minutes or until they become a more opaque color. I'm adding in a half an onion, a small handful of cilantro, not too much, and 3 serrano peppers. Start with 3, and after tasting, you might want to add 1 or 2 more. Now that the tomatillos are ready, transfer them into a blender, a little at a time. My blender wasn't big enough, so I removed about a third back into the empty pot. Now that I have enough room in the blender, I can add the cilantro, the onion, and the 3 serranos. To the mixture, we'll add a tablespoon of chicken bouillon, a tablespoon of salt, and a heaping tablespoon of garlic. The key is to make the salsa a little spicier than you're used to, but don't worry about it. The spiciness dies down and the flavor remains. Our chicken has cooled down, and as you can see, it's breaking down easily. Add all of the salsa and let it cool in the fridge for a couple of hours or even overnight. Now for the masa. Add 1 pound of lard to your stand mixer. Use a whisk attachment and mix it until it's creamy and resembles a cream cheese frosting, but don't eat it. It doesn't taste anything like cream cheese frosting. Trust me on that one. Once it's reached that creamy consistency, add 2 teaspoons of salt and a teaspoon of baking powder. I'm using Masa brand Masa harina. Add in 6.5 cups of the Masa and 32 ounces of chicken broth. Make sure to mix it until it's combined well. Add in 2 cups of chicken broth from the pot where you boiled the chicken in. Make sure that the masa is covered if you aren't ready to use it right away. You don't want it to dry out. Spreading the masa could be very stressful if it's your first time making tamales, but I'll give you a couple of tips. I start by adding masa with a small serving spoon, a little bit bigger than a tablespoon. What I'm looking for is an even layer. I use my paddle to gauge the length and the width to give me a somewhat uniform size. I start with 6 at a time, and you can start with 6 and work up from there once you feel comfortable. The main thing you want to do is try to stay consistent with the amount of filling you add, and make sure that you add it towards the center and a little bit towards the top. Fold the husk and lightly tuck in the filling while overlapping. Continue to roll. Lastly, fold the tail of the husk over the seam. This will keep the tamales from opening. Place a few husks at the bottom of the steamer pot so that the water doesn't touch the tamales. I used a crushed up ball of aluminum foil in the center of the pot to form a teepee. Remember to start with a cold pot so that you're not fighting the steam and you don't burn yourself. And also make sure to face the tails towards the center of the pot. I steam on low heat for about an hour and a half, then I let it cool for about an hour before handling. The husks should peel away very easily from the tamales. I hope you enjoyed this video, but what I really hope is that you make these for your family and they enjoy them for years to come.